So what's the deal with Pioneer? Hey, what's going on everybody? Commander Crane here, and we're back with another Pioneer video, but today it's going to be a little bit different. So today I'd like to talk about the recent updates that just happened for the RCQ format, and I'd like to kind of reflect on what I think that means for the future of Pioneer, because for those who aren't aware, Pioneer is not on the competitive schedule for next year for the RCQ season. So Wizards of the Coast has just announced the upcoming RCQ schedule here. So obviously quarter 2 there we have modern constructed, and then quarter 3 and quarter 4 we have standard constructed. So obviously no Pioneer to be seen on this schedule, and I'd like to kind of talk about what this means for the Pioneer format moving forward. So I'd like to preface really before we hop into the meat of this video, this is not me going to be piling on Wizards of the Coast or anything like that. All I'm here to talk about today is what I think should happen with the format moving forward in terms of how we as players that love to play Pioneer should handle this decision, and also reiterate that the format is nowhere near gone. There is other formats that have really never received support through Wizards of the Coast, and they are still very thriving formats. Like obviously we have a Legacy, we have Pauper, we have different formats like that still, although they don't get a lot of support, or really any, through Wizards of the Coast, they're still thriving formats. And I'm not saying that we're not going to be receiving support with Pioneer. I just want to reiterate that, but just kind of my ideas of what the format's going to look like moving forward. So the first thing I really want to talk about is the biggest thing that a lot of people are asking about, or concerned with. Why would they stop Pioneer when it's really, really good right now? Obviously, there's some recent changes that just happened to the ban of restricted announcement. Obviously, with cards like Sorin, Imperious Bloodlord, and Amalia going, the Pioneer format as a whole, ever since Dustborn has released, has been very, very healthy. So, taking a quick glance at the Pioneer metagame, overall, the metagame is very, very healthy in my opinion. Obviously, you have Rakdos Prowess at 14%, which I think is a little bit inflated. I think people just are playing this deck just to be able to get, really quick wins, get up the ladder a little bit, at least for Pioneer. But overall, you got Blue-White Control, Izzet Phoenix, Rakdos midrange, Transmog, Mono Black midrange, which people are calling Mono Black Demons because of the one-shot combo. You obviously have your Jund Sacrifice, Lotus combo still is good. We have Blue-White Spirits, and then we obviously have Selesnya Company and a number of tier 1.5, tier 2 options to be able to play in Pioneer. So overall, the diversity is definitely there for the format. So overall, the metagame is looking pretty solid for Pioneer, and I think a big reason why a lot of people are frustrated is because the metagame overall is really, really healthy. Obviously, when it was in the RCQ season, it really wasn't looking that healthy. It was looking a little stale. Aggro was like severely hindered. Overall, it really didn't look that great, I'll be honest with you. But it looks very, very good now, and people are sad to see that. People love playing Pioneer. Obviously, it's my personal favorite format, but people are frustrated that they can't play Pioneer at a competitive level. And I'm here to talk about, too, I don't think that's necessarily the case. So with Pioneer, or really any format that is, just because Wizards of the Coast specifically is not giving you access to play competitive events, that does not mean that you shouldn't play Pioneer or should sell out your cards. Like obviously, shops, your local game stores are still going to be hosting Pioneer. Pioneer is going to still be a format, and it's going to be a very fun format to play. Just because there's no regional championship qualifiers doesn't mean your opinion on the Pioneer format should change as a whole. Whether or not you are a casual or you're play competitively, it doesn't matter. Pioneer is still a great format overall, so don't worry about selling, getting out of the format. A lot of people also are concerned with, why should I buy into the format? And honestly, my rebuttal with that is, if you want to buy into the format, if the competitive players aren't playing it, and they might sell out because, Pioneer's not going to be around for a year, then you should get into Pioneer. The staples are going to be less expensive to be able to buy into. So theoretically, if you want to play Pioneer, it could be a really, really good time. But just because that there's no RCQs for Pioneer coming up, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be competitive Pioneer. Wizards of the Coast has recently announced the Spotlight Series, essentially Grand Prix, main event-esque events that are going to be coming to bigger events like Star City Games, SCG Cons, Magic Fests, and things like that. Or I should say Magic Cons, it's not Magic Fests anymore. But I think that Pioneer has a very, very strong chance of showing up in the Spotlight series. So obviously Wizards of the Coast has announced that a while ago, and then the Magic Spotlight is a large multi-day celebration that will spotlight a specific theme at each event and will feature different formats. They've already announced 2. We have Atlanta coming up very, very soon, which is going to be a standard one, and then we also have one that's coming up that's going to be a modern event. So we have obviously the 5 in the United States, 2 in Europe, and 1 in Japan. Obviously, for those who can't add that up, that is 8. There's 8 different events. There's a very, very strong chance that at least 2 of those are going to be Pioneer. So I think that that's where Pioneer competitive Magic is going to be moving forward. But who cares? If you don't play competitive Magic, to a certain extent, you should just keep continuing to play Pioneer. But the people that do love to play competitively, that love the Pioneer format, I don't think that Wizards of the Coast is going to completely drop Pioneer. I think there's a really strong chance that it's going to be featured in one of these Magic Spotlight Series events. The other thing I'd like to mention too with competitive Pioneer specifically, kind of wrapping the whole bow on it here, is even though there's no RCQs in maybe Spotlight Series, which they should be announcing that relatively soon, that doesn't mean that competitive Pioneer is not gone. Obviously, stores can host bigger tournaments themselves. I know at least where I'm from, they like to host a lot of 1K events. Pioneer is generally one that is considered for those formats. There's also really fun team events where obviously 3 different people play different formats. There's definitely going to be competitive Pioneer. It doesn't, like, just because there's no regional championship qualifiers for it, it will still exist. I promise you that. At your local game store, it's not going to change. People are still going to be playing Pioneer. If that's the format of choice, whatever day they play, Pioneer is still going to be a fantastic format. Just because it's not the current competitive season. I just want to reiterate that because I think it's really, really important. And moving forward, I don't think anything's really going to change for that. So the next thing I'd like to talk about specifically is what can Wizards of the Coast do to still incentivize people to play Pioneer. So obviously people are still going to be playing Pioneer whether or not it's part of the RCQ formats. But obviously, why should other people play Pioneer? Why should people that are maybe playing competitive Magic, although Pioneer is not the current format, why should they be playing it? And there's a couple things that I'd like to go over specifically. So one thing, and this isn't, honestly, this isn't even just Pioneer, this is like standard and modern, a whole blanket part of this. What should they do to fix this? I really think they should open up the store championships from just being standard to being able to go back to all formats. So the whole, forcing standard, I think that's a whole nother video, and I'm not going to get into detail on that. But it's really frustrating when people don't play standard or are forced to play standard to be able to participate in their store championships when the promos are Urza Saga Extended Arts, or all these cards that don't even match the format that they're playing. Most of these cards, it seems like when they do these, like obviously some of them are, like Thalian Gitrog, for instance, that's obviously in standard, and some of these cards are. But a lot of these like big promos you can win are not even standard cards. They're cards for Pioneer or Modern. They're not even for standard. So I really think that not only should you have Modern and Pioneer be able to be back on the store championship schedule, I think the promos should match accordingly. And I feel like Wizards of the Coast, and this is just, this is tinfoil hat me, is I think the reason we're getting these non-matching promos is because before you could do standard, Pioneer, or Modern. You didn't have to just do standard. And I think they already designed these promos with the intent that they could do any format. I think that's part of it. The other thing is, at least from my area, I can't speak for everyone, those store championships, I would say like almost 1 in 10 maybe were actually standard. Most of them were Pioneer and Modern, most of them being Modern. And that kind of transitions into the next thing is with competitive Magic, it does seem like Modern is the most popular format to play competitively. I think Pioneer is right behind it. But overall, Modern, people really like Modern. It's really, really stale right now, which is a little tricky. But with the, I'm not going to get into the detail of Modern Horizons and such, but with Modern Horizons, I think that's the big conspiracy too here. Again, tinfoil hat on again, is people are saying that Wizards of the Coast doesn't want to support Pioneer as much because they can't control the format. Because obviously with Standard, it's selling all of the new product and everything like that. And then Modern, they're making the Modern Horizon sets. So they're saying that the money to make in Pioneer is not there. And I'm not going to say whether or not like that is actually accurate. But what I'm saying is I don't think that had any influence on what Wizards of the Coast decisions were to do that. I think it's really simple. Modern is the most competitive or most played competitive format. In Standard, they want to push Standard. They've been pushing Standard now for about 2 years. They want to continue to push Standard. That's why. It's not because they hate Pioneer. It's just because, you know, the reasons I just listed. I think that's the thing I wanted to reiterate with that. But just so we're clear, I don't agree with the decision to not have Pioneer as part of the regional championship format. But again, I cannot stress this enough. I really think it's going to be in the Spotlight series coming up here. I would be absolutely shocked if it's not. I understand, you know, like most of them are in the United States, which that's really a whole separate issue on top of that as well. But don't drop Pioneer. If you like playing Pioneer, continue to play the format. If you don't like Pioneer, play whatever format that you find to be the most enjoyable. Like I can't stress that enough either. Like don't feel like you have to play Pioneer. Play Pioneer if you like playing the format. Like that's, at the end of the day, I'm still going to be playing Pioneer the same amount just because it's not on the regional championship qualifier schedule. Obviously, it stinks as someone who does a lot of Pioneer here on the channel that's not going to be featured at all, but it doesn't matter. I'm still going to be playing the format, uploading videos, and everything's still the same. The regional championship qualifier format has no impact on this channel. So I'm going to go ahead and close up the video here. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about this entire decision. You know, whether or not you like Pioneer or you don't like Pioneer. What are your thoughts moving forward? Should Wizards of the Coast move to a more consistent schedule in terms of regional championship qualifiers? Just let me know what you think in the comment section below. So I'm Commander Crane. Thanks for watching this video, and definitely you should check out other videos on the channel here if you're not familiar. So I will catch you in the next video.